Hello, everyone. My name again is Kevin Kelly. I'm the Director for Community Economic Development here at the Partnership. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar, which is on the new, updated 2018 version of moneysmart for adults, FDIC's financial literacy training tool. Some of you are probably familiar with the previous version of this. Our speakers today will be Tina Queen and Bobby Gray from the FDIC. I'll now turn it over to Tina and Bobby. Go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Bobby Gray, and I'm joined today here with my colleague, Tina Queen. On behalf of the FDIC's Outreach and Program Development, in our community affairs, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to share our updated 2018 version of our moneysmart for adults. So as we get started, thank you again, Kevin, and so we'll be accepting your questions via chat throughout the webinar, and then we'll also leave some time for final Q&A at the end. Okay. I'm having some technical difficulty here. Okay, please forgive me. I'm having a little bit of problem with my advancing of my slides. So, as we work on the technical difficulties I'm having with my slides, my first question is, when you hear the FDIC, what do you think of? If you could type it in the chat. What do you think of when you hear FDIC? Okay, someone seems to say they are having issues hearing us. Can you hear us now? Is this better? Okay. So the FDIC, as many of you, I'm sure, are aware that our main mission is to maintain public confidence in our banking system. That has been the mission since 1933. That's our major mission today. It still remains. As you can see, we not only ensure deposits in times when there may be of a bank failure. Can anyone tell me up to how much could a deposit account be insured? Can you put that in the chat? Okay, let's see. I think we have Audrey. Okay, Tina, can you tell us?
Yes, $250,000. Anything that in specific deposit accounts is insured up to $250,000 individually. They're separate accounts.
Yeah. Thank you. And our section comes. We also provide consumer as part of our consumer protection, and so that's where our community affairs office is, and then also failed bank resolution. Here, FDIC supports economic inclusion, believing that it's an essential element of our mission of maintaining stability and public confidence in the nation's financial system. And as you can see, financial education is the foundation of this bottom rung of the ladder. So if we equip people with education and knowledge and the confidence to act on it, then they will be able to build wealth in all these other areas. And I may not need to convince you, but there are 27% of United States households remain unbanked or underbanked. And what we mean by unbanked is those without a deposit account with a financial institution. And what we mean by underbanked is that Bobby Gray may have an account, but then she may still be going to the check casher to get a money order to pay her bills, or maybe using one of those alternative financial service products. And so one way that the FDIC committed to equipping people with knowledge was to provide MoneySmart as a tool that financial institutions, those of you that are on the call today, practitioners that work with their communities in educating communities about their rights as citizens and just the basics of financial education, so that they are able to make sound financial decisions for themselves. So here's a picture of me and Tina. I'm Bobby, and you'll hear from Tina real soon. So quickly, I'll just tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Tina's going to start with a quick opening activity. Then we'll do a broad overview of the MoneySmart resources that we have. But as we mentioned, today's focus will be on the 2018 version of MoneySmart. As I just mentioned, MoneySmart was created in 2001. Our last major update was 2010. So 8 years later, it's well overdue. Then we'll talk a little bit about making training effective, engaging, and efficient. And we hope you will also share some tips with us. We'll quickly go over the guide to presenting, which has also been updated, and how you can connect with the FDIC and get the resources that you need. Okay, it appears that we have a couple of questions. So as I get ready to transition to Tina, let me just make sure quickly that we have responded to everyone. Go down to the Q&A. It's red. Okay, so I'll work on that. But Tina, you want to?
Yes, well, good evening.
Go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Bobby. Good evening to everyone. This is just a temporary setback. These, computer glitches happen all the time, but we are ready to make sure you get what you're spending your time on. So for open activity, when we do training, we like to just get our audience engaged. So for our opening activity today, I'd like to ask, what does MoneySmart mean to you all? And so if you could just give us a couple of what you suggest in the chat, that would be great. Just what does it mean to be MoneySmart to you? Okay, so I didn't see where anyone's given us their suggestion of what it means to be money smart. So I'll just give you a couple. Hello?
This is Kevin. I don't know if you can see them, but there are some in the chat box. I can read them if you don't see them.
Yeah, we can't see them, Kevin.
Oh, you can't? Okay. So using your personal money in a smart way, budgeting money better to save more than I spend. Let's see what else we have. Aware of where your money is going and how it is being spent. Understanding how banks work, why to use them, how to budget, how to use credit cards wisely, how to improve your credit score, how to budget, make your money stretch further. So those are the responses.
Oh, that's great. Thank you all for participating. All of those answers are answers that could consider what it means to be money smart. So we do really appreciate it. So some of our answers, it depends on the individual, where that individual is, the situation, what's going on in their lives, and the goals that they have attained for themselves. Thanks again. So let's go over what Money Smart is. Some of you may be already familiar with the FDIC Money Smart curriculum, and some of you may not. So we'll just start with giving you an overview, as Bobby had mentioned earlier. Money Smart is a comprehensive financial education curriculum designed to help low and moderate income individuals outside the financial mainstream enhance their financial skills and create positive banking relationships. Money Smart products are available free of charge in several versions. We have Money Smart products for instructors to teach to others, such as Money Smart for young people. And by young people, we mean those in grades pre-kindergarten through grade 12 in high school. We have Money Smart for young adults, ages 12 to 20. Money Smart for adults, which we will go into a little fuller, deeper this evening. Money Smart for small business, which we collaborated with the Small Business Administration. And the small business version focused on the needs of new or existing entrepreneurs. We have Money Smart for older adults, which we developed with the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. Money Smart for older adults is available in English and Spanish. We have products that can be used by anyone self-paced. That means on your own time. Those products are our computer-based instruction, which we call the CBI. It's an online game-based program for people ages 13 and over. It has two tracks. It has the adult track. It has the young adult track. We are in the process of upgrading and revamping our Spanish version of this tool. We have the portable Money Smart podcast MP3 version. And finally, we have Money Smart for small business, which it can be done self-paced too in some different areas. We often, when we do programs and different things, you want to know, is it good? Is it working? And Money Smart is working. It does have impact. We found this based on longitudinal evaluation that it has impacted people. We've seen people tell us that they've had improvement 6 to 12 months after taking courses. And what we mean when we say improvement, we mean that unbanked participants open new accounts. We mean that bank consumers selected new accounts due to comparison shopping. We mean that participants using spending and saving plans and budgets, things they never did before. And we also mean by that is that people began to care about paying their bills on time. And what we found was 95% of the respondents reported that they did have a change in their behavior after going through this program. We know the Money Smart has been both widely used and highly valuable by a diverse group of instructors from a wide range of nonprofits, financial institutions, employers, tribal organizations, organizations that serve the disability community, and more. Yet the last time we updated, as Bobby mentioned, was 2010. So we decided to listen to some of the comments and some of the feedback that we were provided, and we were determined to create something that would be something that our audience could use and appreciate. So now we're going to take a closer look to that. So here's some of our Money Smart, the audience, the target audience, low and moderate income people. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Bobby.
Okay, next slide, please. So what are the module titles of the 2018 version of Money Smart for Adults? As Tina mentioned, while our target audience for creating the curriculum was for those outside the financial mainstream, we've also found that those of us who feel like we are financially savvy have also been able to learn from the curriculum, and it can be adapted for many types of audiences. So now that we're clear on the audience type and the purpose of why we created, let's look at the modules, numbered 1 through 14, and the name gives you a good idea of what's being talked about in the module. So Module 1 is titled Your Money, Values, and Influences. This is one of our newer modules. For those of you who are familiar with the curriculum, it is a brand new module, not newer, it is brand new. And so this talks about how people make decisions about their money and having us think about what influence our financial decision making. Because sometimes if we're in a family situation, I may say, well, I get paid, this is mine, but those major decisions I might make could affect my whole family unit. Maybe I want to go to school and I need to take out a loan or borrow some money to purchase a car. So I have to, so there are really great exercises helping participants think through what are some of those influences that may make us make financial decisions. The second one is You Can Bank on It. Similar to our previous module titled Bank on It, this is an exploration of financial products, services, and providers. Your income and expenses provides an overview of how to track income and expenses, just like the title says. Your spending and saving plan. This provides an overview of how to develop a spending and saving plan and how to prioritize when sometimes money is short. Sometimes we have more expenses than income. Module 5 is titled Your Saving. This provides an in-depth look at saving for expenses, goals, emergencies, including match savings. And here is where there's additional information that talks about the ABLE accounts for people who have disabilities. And so able to achieve a better life experience accounts. 6, credit reports and scores. Here, an in-depth look at credit reports and scores, building productive credit histories. So not using so much bad credit or, just productive credit histories, and repairing and improving credit. Borrowing basics, an overview of ways to borrow money and the cost of borrowing. Managing debt. This, too, is a brand new topic. In the previous version, we touched on debt. This gives a complete life cycle of debt, what it is, how you how debt is created, how to manage it, and then ultimately how to get out of it if that's one's goal. Module 9, using credit cards. How do credit cards work and best practices to using them, building your financial future, and exploration of ways to build assets, including buying a car, getting training and education. Module 11, protecting your identity and other assets, a review of ways to recognize, respond to, and reduce the risk of identity theft, along with strategies for protecting other assets. Module 12, making housing decisions, an exploration of different types of safe and affordable housing, including specific information on renting. And so this is an expansion, looking at what's included on some of those rental agreements. Module 13, buying a home, an overview of looking at the home buying process, including mortgages. And then finally, Module 14, disasters, financial preparation and recovery, an overview of how to prepare for and recover from disasters, whether they be just a financial setback or an actual natural disaster. Okay, so every module is set up the same way, and these are the three components. You will find a participant guide, an instructor guide, which is scripted, and the PowerPoint slides. And Tina's going to give a more in-depth look at the three components. This, as we're looking at it, is from Module 5, titled Your Savings. The participant guide, as you can see, the cover is the pig is there, but it's a big icon, whereas the icon is smaller. It says participant guide, the instructor guide, and then the PowerPoint slides. So you'll always be able to know which guide you're using, okay? Every module has 3 sections. For example, Module 6 has 5 sections. So the module is going to tell you the title of the section. It's going to break down what's covered in each section. And this is small, and I know that you may not be able to see it, and I'm not going to read it, but this is just where we've pulled out all 14 modules and divided the sections. So each one doesn't have the same number of sections. For example, managing debt has the most with 7. Okay, and then we're going to take a quick look at 2010 versus 2018. We had 11 modules, and now we have 14. And this breakdown tells you where you can find similar topics, where you can find things that were covered in 2010. So for those that might be familiar and you wanted to know, where was that information from the previous version, Module 9, you can look on the 2018 breakdown and see that those same topics are covered in the new Module 7 and the Module 10, for example. The curriculum is designed to work for everyone. That means we try to make the training as accessible as possible in terms of literacy, numeracy, and content. That also means that the 2018 version meets Section 508 standards for accessibility, including compatibility with screen reader software. Because the instructor guides and participant guides are provided as accessible Adobe PDF files, anyone can use the current version of Adobe Reader to have the contents read aloud by a computer. The files will work with specialized screen reader software, as I mentioned. the 2018 version provides guidance to instructions for making trainings accessible and welcoming. For example, I'm going to show you a couple examples. So this is a snapshot from section 1 of a participant guide of the module 4, your spending and saving plan. And so this could be an activity used if you're working with people with disabilities. You can see that it includes expenses that someone with a disability may incur. The costs, and they're highlighted on the screen: personal care attendant and service animal expenses. So these are just examples of how we've improved this new version of the MoneySmart. It is a complete replacement. Here's one more example. It's a snapshot of a tool from Module 12, making housing decisions. Again, it includes items that may be relevant to people with disabilities, strong disability community and disability-related services, and accessibility features for people with disabilities. These are just two examples among many within the curriculum. So this is an apply it. And so what do I need and want? So these are things that may be important to one of your attendees. So how do I get the MoneySmart for adults? We launched the curriculum in November of 2018, so you are able to go to our website at www.fdic.gov/moneysmart. The curriculum is available for immediate download, and we have some limited curriculum on DVDs for those without access to download, or if they just don't have a strong broadband. So now I'm going to transition to Tina to talk about some tips on use of the curriculum.
Thanks again, Bobby. But before I give you tips on the use and how to use the new curriculum, I wanted to just share with you that MoneySmart can be used everywhere. You can use it at Boys and Girls Clubs. You can use it at community colleges, Girl Scouts, places of worship, sports leagues, workforce centers, and when you start thinking about the clients and the community that you can reach out to, we find that it's practical to consider also rural dwellers, urban dwellers, women, young children, just youth and everyone. So MoneySmart is one of those things that it's needed everywhere, and everyone needs it, not just we do focus on the low and moderate income, but we also don't want to leave out these other groups of people who may need it as well. So that's just something that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Tina.
Every module, all of the 14 modules have a participant guide. What happens with the participant guide, it has a picture. It tells you the module number. It the materials, that has a content area where it tells you the materials that you'll get at the beginning of the training, what you can use during the training, and references what you can do following the training. It's a welcome page for the FDIC from the FDIC in each of the participant guides. It also has sections, as Bobby mentioned, and each section has a key takeaway. And the key takeaway is the most important information from the section, and each one should have that in the opening and closing area of the participant module. It's going to have narrative text. We'll have realistic scenarios for each person to use when they're doing training. And these scenarios, we try to have a diverse range of participants dealing with different situations and making different decisions because we all have different issues in our lives. We'll have what we call triads. And triads feature discussion questions or exercises to just help reinforce what you've learned and then apply it. It's an activity that helps the participants apply new concepts. As on the screen here, there's module closing. We'll have that. We'll talk about that a little further. And we have your pre-training survey and your post-training survey. All of these items are included in your participant guide. In the module closing section, it has a table with key takeaways of the module, and it has the take action activities. And, the pre-training and the post-training both are in the module, and they're at the end. And some people find that kind of odd, but we think that those were the best places for it so that you can just separate your pre-training survey, pull it from the end instead of the middle or the beginning of the guide. So that's why that's there. So this is the first page of the section. This is an example right here. Again, each module will begin with a short statement of what will be covered, a picture, again, a key takeaway, and then on this page you see apply it, and it's entitled My Values. And this is a tool for people to apply what they've learned. However, each of the modules won't have apply it at the beginning. It just so happens for this particular values and money, this is the example we're using for today. So this page right here is just giving you a visual a version of what I just said in my narrative a few minutes ago. Again, information I had given in my narrative. This is your example of what you would see in a triad scenario. And so the scenarios are designed to showcase quickly and realistically as possible situation participants can relate to, okay? Look at the global features on the pages. Please take note that the section name and number at the top of the page. And then the model number and name as well as the page number is at the bottom of the page. These are things to so that you can help guide yourself to where you are in case, and so a participant is easy guiding what module and what information they should be consider expecting. This is the final page of a section. This is what would be shown on the final page. This is Module 1, so this is what the final page in the participant guide for Module 1, what it would look like. And notice that at the bottom you will see the remember the key takeaway. So again, earlier I said you'll see something that refers to the key takeaway in the beginning, and at the end you'll see in that section. This is an example of the module closing. This is what that page will look like in the participant guide. It includes the list of all the key takeaways from each section, as well as the start of the take action section. Every module closes the same way, so this will be, and every is consistent. And again, this is from Module 1. The closing is continue. This particular module's closing page was a little longer than normal, so this is second page. And on there, it's just the third question about sharing what was learned in the training earlier. I mentioned the pre-training survey. Here's the pre-training survey page. Has questions, and this can be used a lot of times to determine how familiar your audience is with whatever the topic you're discussing, or just an icebreaker exercise as well. And this is the post-training survey page that I discussed. You'll notice that the questions are duplicated. The thought with that is we would see what a person knows about the topic prior to the training, and then after the training, we'll assess their knowledge that they gained and the progress that they've made. Want to know that, we are helpful. The information that we provided was helpful, and that it was retained, so that we as trainers can reevaluate and determine if we need to change the way we provide our training. So Bobby will follow through and provide us information for the instructor guide.
Thank you, Tina. So, as I mentioned earlier, take a look at there's the icons for Module 1. The one on the left is the participant guide, where the icon is much bigger. On the instructor guide, again, the icon, you're going to find the same icon, but it's going to be smaller, and it's going to be up in the left-hand corner. What's important is they both say your money values and influences. If you recall, I talked about that being Module 1 when I gave out the overall list. So again, each module has all three components. They're all set up the same way. So one of the first things that you're going to see is the background information for instructors, introductory section, and training preparation checklist. This is a summary and checklist form for those who may not have trained as often or who are brand new to training. I'm sure many of you have your own training techniques, and we hope to hear about them in a few minutes. But this gives a summary of what to do as you get ready for this engaging training. Again, this list begins at the beginning of each instructor guide. The background information will tell you about materials that you need. So it starts off by telling you need the instructor guide, copies of the participant guide. So how many people are in your class, your slides, other things that you might need. And then it also talks about optional materials, such as a parking lot, optional supplies for one of the activities. And then there's a understanding the icons page. So the icons do say ask. So that's what you're going to find throughout the instructor guide. Do something, say something, or ask. And then there's share the key takeaway. When you convey the primary message of a section, it may tell you to facilitate a discussion, lead an activity, present information, take action, and closing. So when Tina talked about that closing, that's when we have participants think about, okay, I've learned this, I've tried it, maybe I was able to even have some of the applied activities. Now, how does this apply to my life, and what am I going to do when I leave? And then the book looks like the scenario. When you use a short story to start a discussion or activity about a financial topic, icons give you quick visual cues so that you can navigate the information more quickly. This is the module at a glance table. In the previous version, for those of you that might be familiar, it was called a layering table. So here you're going to find the module at a glance. We're sticking with module 1. So it tells us the section, key takeaways, purpose, and objectives of the module and the sections, and approximately how much time it will take. So one thing that I would note here is to make sure you build in time for those activities or questions, or just for things to happen that that just happen in trainings. Section, sections time with the title, time, and objectives. Tina has talked about them. So this one, again, is from your values and your money. The next screenshot compares it with the instructor and participant guide. I'm going to show you just a quick couple of comparisons. This shows how the introduction and key takeaway section looks in the instructor guide on the left and the participant guide on the right. And so the instructor guide is in 2 columns. On the left, that's where you're going to get your icons prompting you what to do, say, ask, or discuss. And the right column will show you the slides that you should be on, and it will also tell you what page to tell the participants to go to. For example, this one says, see page 3 in the participant guide. And this is page 3 of the participant guide. And this is just another example. In this case, it's asking you to apply it. So this is another activity. You can see the participant guide didn't change, but, excuse me, the page in the instructor guide did. And then here's another example of the try it. You are prompted to read or have someone else read the scenario as a way of engaging your class. So again, we have apply it and try it activities. The PowerPoint slides are your visual aids. Every module has a complete set, and it just keeps you on point, highlighting key points. They are available in PDF and PowerPoint version. And again, it's going to tell you which slide. It gives you 2 prompts. First, it says, show slide 3, and then it's going to show you what it looks like. Okay. And then finally, the answer key for the pre and post-training surveys. So again, as Tina mentioned, you can use these as a warm-up or just to find out where your class is on your topic. And the bottom part you may or may not collect just to we're always looking for information that we can use as trainers. So now, Tina will give you some tips about making training effective, engaging, and efficient.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. So, engaging training. What makes the training engaging? It should be effective, it should be efficient, and it should be engaging. So what do we mean by that? So normally, there's a natural tension among trainers to make it effective, efficient, and engaging. And ultimately, that's what we want. So engaging training is nearly always most effective, but most people remember better what they experience actively rather than passively listen to or see. An engaging presenter, however, can make a lecture feel like an experience. Efficient training. That's all about using time and resources as much as possible and prudently as possible. You want to be able to get through the materials. It may be efficient to lecture, but lecture or your presentation is not engaging if you don't be effective. Use different tools and techniques make it a discussion for the attendees. When time is limited, there's always usually a trade-off with these things. So you have to really be able to plan, and that's why it's good for the pre-surveys, and that's why it's good to evaluate who your audience is so you can know how much, if you're training other trainers like we do a lot, we often ask questions, how much training experience have you already have? Because if a person's been training maybe even longer than I have, 10 years or more, I don't want to start by step one with them. I want to meet them where they are, and so I have to find activities that gravitate to them, get their attention, and perhaps maybe even activities that's new to them, and to expose to them something else so that my training becomes effective to them and engages them. And that's why you want to have Q&As or maybe icebreakers, opening activities, and different activities throughout your training. And since we are limited in time, we haven't done a lot of that, but most of our training, if we had more time than something like today, we would have had 3 different questions for you to provide chat answers to. But that's something you want to consider. So with the 2018 Money Smart for Adults, we tried to strike a balance and incorporate more activities, but to make each module reasonable in length, and there are presentations within each module. This next slide, we continue with things you should do to be engaging. Don't cut your activities to save time or cover less material. Avoid speaking extra fast to cover the material. So as a trainer and a good trainer, you should be able to gauge your time, and if you're even running short of time or if you have more time than you expect, you should be able to accommodate those things and be prepared. Earlier today, we were having technical difficulties with the slides and with the audience hearing us. So Bobby and I were prepared that if you couldn't see the slides, to continue and move forward, to keep talking or provide you with conversation to ad-lib while we get the technical difficulties taken care of. You want to be able to be versatile. You want to be able to provide time for participants to ask questions, do reflections, and have discussions. And often you find instructors that want to cut this out, but it's essential for your participants to have time to ask follow-up questions, discuss the materials, and get the help they need in order to apply it when they're moving forward. A couple of more tips for you. Allow your participants to complete to apply it as much as possible. These are the first steps to taking action. I don't know if you heard that old saying, you do something 21 days, it becomes a habit. So if they start immediately within the training that you're providing, applying it, it will stimulate more desire for them. Add your own stories and examples to the materials while you're reading the script as well. Never reference you're running out of time, and always do the best to start and end on time. Bobby's going to provide your information on the guide to presenting as we come towards our close.
Okay. Thank you, Tina. So the guide to presenting is an important resource that can help you as you begin planning and delivering your training. As I mentioned, it was updated. This is a new version of to align with the 2018 curriculum. One of the things that I do want to point out that we won't have time to show a sample that's really key. So while the guide gives you all of the things that you need in your preparation, we do have 4 new appendices which are tools for training, and the section D, I believe, no, section Appendix A, it gives you examples of the different types of audiences and perhaps sections of the different modules you might consider. For example, I think one is about somebody applying for a new job. But then the other thing is there's a blank one, so that as you begin to train your own, develop your own training, you can keep those things in mind. So here, knowing your role as an instructor, again, we weren't able to poll to see how much experience. For the next 30 seconds, is there anything that you would include to this list beyond prepare, deliver engaging, provide reasonable accommodations, focus participants in facilitating discussions towards training objectives, remain flexible, and making sure participants have the opportunity to contribute? Is there anything else that anyone would add as we move on to some questions for you to consider?
And Debbie, we do see your question, and we will, if not answer it during the webinar, we will definitely make sure we get your answer.
So, again, questions for you to consider as you're developing your training so that you can focus your plan. Who are you training? What do they need or want most from the training? What benefit or change do you want them to gain from your training? What are your individual organizational goals? So just bearing those things in mind as you develop your workshop. And so Tina is going to talk about other things that we have. Again, this was a quick overview, and we do want to leave a few minutes for questions and allow Kevin to answer the phone, and maybe he can go through any questions, again, that we may have missed in the chat. And as Tina mentioned, if we don't get to all of them, we will provide the answers and ask Kevin to send them out. So how do we connect with the FDIC, Tina?
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everybody. You can stay up to date on what's going on with the MoneySmart program through the MoneySmart News. You can view it online or subscribe to it. It provides updates on the MoneySmart program, success stories such as best practices for teaching people with visual impairments, one bank's way of promoting financial education through summer employment, and your submissions are welcome. Another way is we recognize organizations that contribute to the delivery of MoneySmart to consumers and small business through the MoneySmart Alliance program. The FDIC welcomes federally insured financial institutions, nonprofit organizations that have been recognized as tax exempt by the IRS, federal agencies, K-12 schools or school districts, colleges or universities, other state or local government agencies. Alliance members agree to use or promote the MoneySmart curriculum by offering MoneySmart trainings or trainer-trainer events. Through the Alliance program, their members support our local organizations that use MoneySmart. Other Alliance members also provide feedback on MoneySmart to the FDIC, which is why we were able to update this MoneySmart for adults. And you can go online to fdic.moneysmart.gov to find out more information on the Alliance. And I've given you some of the things you're expected, and here's some other benefits. And you are listed online in the directory. We have conference calls for you. Also, Consumer News is a way that you can take to keep up with what we're doing, and you can do that at FDIC /consumers/consumers news. And if you have additional information or questions for Bobby and I directly, you can reach us at communityaffairs@fdic.gov. Just to give you, for those who don't know, our MoneySmart website is www.fdic.gov/moneysmart. Thank you for your participation and your patience with our technical difficulties, and we can open it on for questions.
And Kevin, are there any in the Q&A that we missed?
I see one here. Last year, the St. Louis chapter had Money Smart Month. Are most trainers only doing Money Smart Week?
That's a question. I think we will need to follow up with our local Kansas City regional office. We have community affairs staff. We're here in our Washington, D.C. office, and we have staff located at 6 regional offices and 2 area offices around the country. And so Kansas City would be that local office, right? St. Louis, or is that Chicago? It's Kansas. So let us find out from them because they usually collaborate with offices and even some of the other regulators and the other organizations in your local area to conduct trainings. And we can connect you with them. If you will send us your email through our community affairs at fdic.gov, Debbie, and let's see if we can get a response for you. Thank you.
Another question is, are we required to do a training to use this training at our agency?
Absolutely not. That's why we have a lot of, this is instructor-led version, and we have the scripts, and you could just pick it up and go with it. We have so many people teaching Money Smart we're not even aware of. And we have the videos online, too, that can help you learn more about the curriculum. But, no, don't feel that you have to go through a specific training.
And as we mentioned earlier on, the Money Smart isn't copyrighted. You can adapt it to the needs of your audience.
Another question, but I think you answered this already. Don't you also have representatives in most regions, which you just said that you do?
Yes. We have 6 regional offices: Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, San Francisco, Boston, and our Memphis area offices. And so, but they cover the entire, and New York, oh my goodness, and here in D.C., but it covers the entire country. And so we have, I think we have a link to, or we'll make sure you have the link. It's on our website to who would also be your local community affairs partner. And if need be, we can certainly make an introduction. And one of the other things, as we have 1 minute left, that I would say about the Alliance is, if you're not an Alliance member, please go to the website and look at the criteria for considering joining. And it is people are listed, organizations are listed in a searchable database, so you can see what other organizations in your area you might consider collaborating with.
Okay, thank you. I think we've come to the end of our time. I don't see any other questions. I just want to thank today's panelists, Tina and Bobby at FDIC, for a fine presentation. I usually am able to upload the recording about a day after the event, so hopefully on Friday, and if not Friday, then on Monday, I can send out the audio recording and a copy of the presentation to everybody who had signed up ahead of time. I have your email addresses, and I'll be sure to do that. And I hope to have some of you on our other Wednesday webinars. So thank you for attending, and thanks again to our panelists today.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day.